G'day all, I'm in Goolwa, to be more specific at the Goolwa Barrage on the Sir Richard Peninsula here in South Australia, around 1 hour and 15 minutes drive from Adelaide. This is the end of the iconic Murray River, where fresh water meets the ocean, home to abundant bird life and a colony of long-nosed fur seals which call the Goolwa Barrage home. With the amazing array of birds found in South Australia, unfortunately you cannot always get them on camera, but when you do it makes a special moment, and I had a number of these special moments at the Goolwa Barrage. With its distinctive loud piercing call, the whistling kite is a bird heard long before it is seen. Typically found around water, they use the large Norfolk Island pine trees of the Goolwa Barrage for refuge and as a nesting platform. When you think you have had a bad day, spare a thought for this yabby, being tossed around by this white-faced heron, being dropped to the ground in an effort to ensure it is dazed enough to be swallowed whole. Plucked from beneath the water, there's no way the white-faced heron is letting this large and tasty meal get away. Australian magpie, an iconic, easily recognisable bird immortalised by many Australian sporting teams. The Goolwa Barrage is just one of a system of 5 barrages separating freshwater from sea, primarily constructed to keep freshwater in the lower reaches of the River Murray, as well as Lake Albert and Lake Alexandrina. Birds are prolific, and as you would expect, waterfowl are abundant, in particular ducks. Ducks such as the Chestnut Teal, this one a male, a standout with its metallic green head. Grey teals, looking similar to the female Chestnut Teal, both in large numbers around the Goolwa Barrage. And the Pacific black duck, easily recognisable by its dark facial stripes. Birds can be thick in places, with a number of species willing to cohabit, and with its long legs and long curved bill, the Australian white Ibis is a standout, dwarfing the smaller ducks. Easily identifiable due to its large red facial shield is the Australasian swamp hen. Very common around freshwater ponds, lakes, creeks and rivers. Look closely, as you won't just find birds, this tree skink basking in the morning sun next to the water's edge. Despite the name, they also inhabit rocky outcrops, as long as there is cracks and crevices to retreat into at the slightest sign of danger. Keeping a keen watchful eye, this male Australian hobby locks onto something approaching. A female, slightly larger than he is, so he makes a hasty retreat. These aggressive and agile predators of the sky feed on insects, small mammals and other small birds. Many birds use the large Norfolk Island pine trees for protection and a roosting spot, like these eastern great egrets, with their snow-white plumage glowing against the backdrop of the green leaves,
Belonging to the flycatcher family is the distinctive black and white woolly wagtail, a bird which doesn't sit still for too long. Located in the centre of the barge is the lock, easily accessible via the walkway. Worth the walk, many bird species can be spotted along with a colony of long-nosed fur seals, which frequent the waters around the loch. Gliding effortlessly through the water is the elegant and graceful black swan. From one of the largest bird species to inhabit the Goolwa Barrage to another, the Australian pelican, this time pushing through the water, plunge diving in search of its diet, which mainly consists of fish. The Australian pelican has the largest bill of any living bird species in the world. It is also the second heaviest flying bird in Australia, with the brolga being the heaviest. Combing the surface of the water for the slightest sign of movement, the Australian pelican plunges their long bill into the water, snaring its prey with its pouch before swallowing whole. And these are just one of the fish species the Australian pelicans would be trying to catch. Yellow-eyed mullet, or better known in this area as Coorong mullet. An important part of the food chain, not just for the many bird species but the colony of long-nosed fur seals which call the Goolwa Barrage home. After the same fish as the pelicans are the great cormorants. Difficult to detect in this footage, however these cormorants have an amazing emerald green iris. The smallest bird found on this trip to the Goolwa Barrage was the welcome swallow. Often flying low to the ground, or in this case around the Goolwa Barrage flying just above the surface of the water, these agile, fast-flying birds catch insects while in flight. Birds congregate in large numbers around the safety of the Goolwa Barrage where public access is not granted. All keeping their own distance between one another, but happy to cohabit while they preen, rest, and carry out the many chores of life. Birds such as these masked lapwings, dwarfed by the much larger pelicans. But birds are not the only creatures that utilise the structures of the Goolwa Barrage and loch. A growing number of long-nosed fur seals populate the area, basking, feeding, joyfully playing, now calling these man-made structures home. With other common names such as Australian fur seal or New Zealand fur seal, in recent times this species has moved towards being referred to as the long-nosed fur seal for populations inhabiting Australia. Long-nosed fur seals can be found around the entire coast of New Zealand and the southern coast of Australia, along with many of its offshore islands. With the arrival of Europeans, these seals were almost hunted to extinction. With this practice now gone, they have over time made a steady comeback, increasing in numbers and inhabiting locations not previously found in. In search of prey such as cephalopods, fish, and at times birds, the long-nosed fur seal can dive deeper and longer than any other fur seal species. Silver gull, one of the most recognisable and possibly most annoying Australian birds due to its habit of stealing food right out of your fingertips. Another one of Australia's gull species is the Pacific gull, this one an adult bird. Found along the southern half of Australia, these coastal inhabitants are not as common as silver gulls. In stark contrast to the adult bird is the juvenile Pacific gull, covered in its mottled brown plumage. Little pied cormorant, resting in the rays of the sun. These hard-working birds dive into the benthic zone to catch their prey. The benthic zone is the deepest level of a body of water, feeding on a variety of fish and crustaceans which the bird might just have a belly full of. Australian white ibis, digging around in the shallows with its long downward curved bill. These birds are widespread over much of Australia, becoming a problem in some urban areas due to their scavenging nature. Compared to the Australian white ibis, the feeding habits of the white-faced heron are completely different. These birds with their long dagger-shaped bill are patient, stealth hunters, often wading through the shallows, eyes focused for the slightest sign of movement. All filming so far has been done within the grounds of the Goolwa Barrage, but many of the species filmed so far are just visitors, and with the vast areas around the Goolwa Barrage, these species use this area as part of their everyday survival, hunting, preening, resting, and raising young. Species already seen such as the eastern grey tigret and the white-faced heron, both with similar characteristics in not just body shape, but also hunting styles. Wading in the same waters are the white-headed stilts, probing into the sediment beneath the surface for any aquatic insects. Blink and you may miss this one. Red-kneed dotterel, quick and agile as it combs the banks for insects, small crustaceans and invertebrates. The widespread and common Eurasian coot. Unlike many of the other water birds, the hoary-headed grebes prefer to avoid the shoreline, preferring the safety of open waters. Found in numbers on shore is the singing honeyeater, despite the name a relatively quiet bird feeding on nectar, small insects and fruits. The expansive range of the Goolwa Barrage and surrounding areas create many habitats for many species. One attracted by the chance of a next meal is the black-shouldered kite. These birds of prey have the most amazing red iris, set like a jewel amongst the white plumage of the head and the black of the eyebrow. Amazingly, this is the third raptor found on this visit to the Goolwa Barrage, and my final species filmed. So this brings me to the end of this look into some of the amazing wildlife around the Goolwa Barrage. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like to see more nature-based videos. Thanks for watching.